What's going on, everybody, and what's going on, folks? My name is David, and I'm your host of this legendary podcast, the D-constructing Topic podcast. And let's rewind. Time out. Hold on. We got a nice little football and life episode. If you're a sports fan, tune in because it's a great story. If you're a fan of life and commitment and decision and all that, then tune in. You'll love this about this going on. And let me rewind once again. I am your legendary host of this legendary podcast, the Deconstructing Topic podcast. And you already know, for those people out there, I did a couple of episodes already. I did one. I got more episodes. My New York Knicks are in the NBA Finals. And we're just waiting. By the time that you listen to this, we are waiting for Game 7 between the OKC Thunder, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the San Antonio Spurs. Hey, let them duke it out, get chippy, go crazy, whatever the case might be. But anyways, coming into this story, or coming in, not just this story in the podcast, but in the finals, the news was about Mitchell Robinson, the center of the New York Knicks, who for some reason is having an issue with the pinky, but it looks like he will play. He has some surgery. I don't know what happened, but it kind of brought me back to this kind of story of a pinky. Yeah, a pinky. Now, keep in mind, heads up. It might get a little bit, how can I say, a little bit detailed and a little bit gruesome, so please keep that in mind. If you ever had an injury or something that had broken in your body, which it just didn't look right, and it happened to me in my car accident, it just didn't look right. Hey, listen, just continue to listen. Always hit that like and comment, and let me know what you think about this story. Because we have the Ronnie Lott and the Pinky story. Ooh, day 48. Hot. Let's go. Let's make it happen. So feel free to hit the like, comment, and I'm all over the place. You already know. I'm on the YouTube, Spotify, Apple, T-Juice TV. Let's go. We making it happen. We definitely all over the place. So when you sit down and all that good stuff, hey, listen. Put everybody all together, especially football fans and sports fans. There's going to be an interesting story because that Mitchell Robinson pinky situation, again, we into the finals. First time in 1999. And I'm going to go on a limb, and I will go on a limb and guarantee that my boy Mitchell Robinson wants to play, and there's no stopping him. Now, you might say, damn, David, you don't think that's a little bit selfish as a sports fan, Knicks fan, or whatever, that you want this player to kind of sacrifice his pinky and his future and his livelihood to win the NBA Finals? No comment. That's why I'm going to do this story, which is the Ronnie Lott story. And this crazy story is crazy. And welcome to this podcast, because when we do something, we tell these stories and these powerful stories that will make you feel like, wow. It's sometimes in life, it's all about that discipline, focus, and resilience. And today's story is about a football player. More than that, it's a decision that shows what true commitment to it. So I'm over here as you're looking at the screen, which is Ronnie Lott. I'm a New York Giants fan. Ronnie Lott played for the San Francisco 49ers. And he played many seasons, and he's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, Ronnie Lott in the 80s was a beast. One of the heavy hitters out there. If you if you follow sports, he was a free safety, if I'm not mistaken. So that means that he's free to do whatever the case might be, as long as nobody scored a touchdown. So he's hitting. He's doing all these crazy things. And I'm like, okay, that's Ronnie Lott. But years ago, over a decade ago, I heard a story. Even me, I'm a New York Giants fan, and for me to be a Giants fan and to give props to this story of this football player who had one game. There was a game, in my understanding, there was a game against the Dallas Cowboys, the San Francisco 49ers. They were dominant, defending champions. You know, they want to get to the back to back. They want to get to 3 Super Bowls. They want to dominate the 80s. And towards the end of the season, and it's a 16-game season in the NFL, one of the crazy things that happened, it's crazy just to think about that. The fact that Ronnie Lott, and again, if you can visualize it, and you already know how football is with the helmets, and you got the face masks going on, and then sadly, hey, listen, you don't want to grab a face mask. That's a 15-yard penalty. Depending on how you twist that thing, you could get kicked out of the game. But sadly, there are players that got bad habits. I did an episode previously in regards to bad habits. And Ronnie Lott, his pinky, for some reason, was trying to tackle the running back of the Dallas Cowboys. And for some reason, his pinky got stuck somewhere in his face mask, right? If you're a football fan, you know what I'm talking about. The face masks, these are little cages where you could just, put something there and something wrong's going to come out of there. And my understanding is Ronnie Lott was trying to make this tackle, because that's what he is. He was a tackling machine. He was just a machine overall. His tip of his pinky broke. And there was a bone coming out. Yeah. People are going to be like, oh, my God, baby, really, come on. I did warn you. Hey, I'm just saying, I did warn you. It's gruesome. But the fact that Ronnie Lott, once that he noticed that his pinky was out of place, I'm like, he's looking at his finger like, and I wish that I could, there's videos out there, y'all don't want the whole copyright thing going on, but, his pinky just, cheek, tip of, bones come out, or the bone coming out. I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm sorry. So it looks like his finger just got kind of shredded in a sense. That's one of the descriptions that people was like, oh, where's his finger at? Where's his pinky at? And naturally, when a football player, and this is in life, anytime that you get hurt, where you break something, sadly, you're gonna be out in the sideline. If you're in the whatever field of professional, it's gonna be a little bit difficult for you to go to work. You know what I mean? You're gonna be sidelined, as they say, just like in football. Football players, get hurt, so they sideline. And this could take, a surgery, and this could take months. And keep in mind is this, one would say, okay, we're going to do a surgery in the pinky, but sadly, it's your whole hand. You have to recover. It's going to be swollen. It's going to take time. Now, I don't know what they mean by, Mitchell Robinson and the surgery in regards to his pinky that he's going to be able to play. I don't know. You know what I mean? But the fact is this. Ronnie Lott, at that point, he was like 26. 27, somewhere around there. He's a young man with his adrenaline, wanting to fight. And I want people to just not just focus on the story. I know I'm talking about the injury, because the injury, it's what happened. But Ronnie Lott, instead of saying, I need surgery, he's going to be out. That means that the San Francisco 49ers are heading to the playoff, because at this time they are a playoff. Playoff? Anyone talk about playoff? Playoffs? See, playoffs matter, and players matter to Ronnie Lott. And it's not just matter to Ronnie Lott playing the playoff. It matters because if you win, and you win, and you win, you get to the Super Bowl. So he had this situation. He had it in a conundrum. Have you ever been in a situation where you have to make one of the most hardest decisions of all time? And here comes this young man who can say, you know what, I'm going to sit out. Went to the doctors, supposedly spoke to some teammates. But Ronnie Lott was already, in his mind, was already like, I already made my decision. I want to play. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to put a big cast? He's going to be in pain. You're going to give him all these pain shots? Sadly, in sports, there's a lot of people, and not just in sports, and in any place. But, primarily happen in sports and wrestling when, players get addicted to the painkillers, and they got Ronnie Lott with the finger. I don't want to be in pain, doctor. That's why I don't want to do a surgery. Is there something else that I could do? Imagine that conversation. Imagine you're the doctor. Well, Ronnie, I can tell you something, but I'm not suggesting it. Ronnie probably like, come on, doc. You've been doing this forever. I'm over here on my third, fourth season in the NFL. I want to win. Doctor goes and says, hey, Ronnie, you know what? I admire your commitment. Hey, maybe I should talk to your coach. No, doc. I'm here. I'm here, the doctor. Come on, doc. Talk to me. I want to play. Tell me, what can we do? Doctor's looking at Ronnie Lott. It's like, the only way that I could probably not guarantee, but it's going to be a better alternative if you want to play. Then we got to kind of cut your pinky. Ronnie Lott is probably looking at his pinky. And if Ronnie Lott is listening to this beautiful podcast, he's probably looking at his pinky right about now. I'm looking at my pinky as well. Everybody's probably going to start looking at their fingers now. And Ronnie Lott, number 42, the Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. At that time, he wasn't, but one of the legends, 5-time All-Pro, if I'm not mistaken. So many insults. I don't know. I think like 60-something insults, 50, I don't know. The dude was a legend, a legend. Ronnie Lott, a legend in the field of football. And in that instance, being young that he was, he made the ultimate decision. And you know what Ronnie Lott did? Ladies and gentlemen, my legendary people, this is what makes Ronnie Lott one of the legends of this podcast. It should be a Deconstructed Topics Hall of Fame now. He decided to, cut his pinky, right? Now, I'm not going to say that he cut his whole pinky. My understanding is that it's part of the pinky, and they make that go. King! Sealed it. The pain is gone. A little bit of pain, obviously, but it was just on the little pinky and not on his, I believe it was the left arm, if I'm not mistaken. And boy, oh boy, that story. And when I heard that story, and it's a story that I would love to continue telling, because what I'm going to say, wow, that was kind of silly. But put yourself in the context of what this young man at that time was doing. For not just the team, not just for himself, but the fans of San Francisco 49ers that were going crazy in the 1980s. Because he looked at his other players. He looked at Joe Montana. Great plays they had. You know, Joe Montana being the cornerstone of that team. He said, you know, if Joe could do it with 2 bad knees, what is a piece of the pinky? And that's that story. The story of commitment, the story of whatever it is. And he just continued to play football. Legendary career. Made it to the Hall of Fame. And it was something that, in interviews, they asked him, hey, Ronnie, do you regret that? And Ronnie Lott said, he always shows his pinky. I'm telling you. That's why I did not want to show pictures of a pinky. Maybe I should. You could always find out and Google that. He's always like this. He's always big. But it became something of a legendary story because there's those athletes, and look, and I want to say, an athlete gets hurt, and we might question, well, it's the finals. We've seen, many situations. I remember years ago, Karl Malone with the hand. There's a lot of athletes that had to face certain decisions because it could hurt them long term, and this is one of those things. Whether he made the right decision, ultimately it became the right decision. And props to him. Obviously, a pinky is different than a foot, than a whole hand. That would have been crazy. Yo, chill, relax there. But it just, and at that time, I guess that's what football was all about. Football was a little bit different in the 80s, just like sports. But football was definitely different. Players were getting paid a little bit more. Attention, revenues was coming a little bit more. So, hey, listen, it's not just about their livelihood. Well, it was about their livelihood, their, football. But the fact that football was just the sport that, hey, got you where you want to be at. And it's just a legendary story that to this day, and I'm glad that, take it back. I'm going to say I'm glad, hey, Mitchell Robinson, get better. Game 1. June 3rd, 2026. Can't wait. Let's go, New York. Still go, New York. But the fact is this. Little stories like that. And I mentioned before in my podcast, in my previous episode, setting goals, hitting the reset button, reflecting life, achieve, whatever it is. There's going to be things that's going to remind you of something. And, I guess Mitch Robinson's story with the pinky kind of remind me of the Ronnie Lott story. That's a beautiful story. Because we don't necessarily just have to think about something physical in the aspect of that. But in life, we have made decisions that we don't know is the right, but we make the decision. It's going to affect us. But you see what's behind that decision is that commitment. When you believe in yourself, when you believe in others, when you believe in your team, when you believe in everybody, your coach, your mentor, your fans, everybody, when you believe, you have that commitment, then it makes certain decisions like this one a little bit easier. Keep in mind, don't go crazy cutting something to be like, no, I could do it. I was Ronnie Lott. We all are not Ronnie Lott, but we do tend to want to be inspired by stories like this. So there's the Deconstructing Topic podcast. You already know. Look at this. Ronnie Lott, he looks like a scary dude. That, you know, this little picture going on here, but that's the fact that he's a legendary, as a Giants fan. You gotta respect this gentleman here. I do remember a story or two, Mark Bararo, but that's in a whole different sense. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in between, whatever the case might be, hit the like always. It's always going to help me to tell their stories, to bring it to you, to bring it to the world. Once again, just going to remind people, we don't necessarily have to be Ronnie Lott, but we could always feel inspired by these stories. We making it happen. I'm out of here. Peace. Take care.